is your girl Janelle, and you are here at the Creatives Corner. I have my bro, the actor, the director, the multi-talent entrepreneur, Randolph Summiel, but I go by Trey. That's my bro. It's Trey forever. It's Randolph to you. It's Trey to me. But bro, thank you for coming. Coming like you came to an actual session, but coming on to my Zoom line to interview.
Oh man, it's an honor. I like so much respect. I appreciate it.
Yo, like you guys, this guy is dope. I met this guy years ago. Like is it like almost 6?
Yeah,
It's been some years. It's been some years. But since day one, he has been a go-getter. His grind is impeccable. He is very persistent, very disciplined. And that's very important in the industry, is to be disciplined. So I invited him onto the Creatives Corner just to share his story, to give advice to all actors or people who are potential filmmakers, somebody looking to go into schooling for it, or somebody who has questions, to share his overall journey. He went from New Jersey to LA, so that's a big jump that I hope to aspire from Philly very soon. So, I just wanted him to come on and then share his light and his story, because his story can impact you. It's all about being transparent, to become a safe haven, and to feel comfortable, and to just talk your talk, man. So I want to start this off by asking, tell us a little bit about you.
Oh man, a little bit about me. Well, yeah, Randolph Summiel. My nickname is Trey because I'm actually the third in my family. So everybody started calling me Trey to give you like from day one. Uh, Athlete. That's how I grew up. Always playing sports, basketball, football, running track. A little something, little something. Went to college for basketball. My undergrad, I played basketball in my undergrad. Acting was always something that was in the picture. Performing was always something that was in the picture, like whether if I was praise dancing or if I was doing like a talent show or I was doing something that involved being in front of people and speaking. Like I was student government president in high school. So I liked giving the speeches and stuff like that and talking in front of a collective or trying to promote some sort of change or something like that. So that was always in the picture. Always wanted to be on the big screen. I think acting became something so valuable to me because I've experienced so much as a kid, but I never talked about it. And acting always was a place where I could express myself on through characters. So I could always be something that I wasn't. And, struggling with like loving myself and liking myself, I could always be a different character. So like with acting, I was able to be somebody other than myself in a way. Because, like once you kind of learn through acting and learn what acting is, you're bringing an element of yourself to every character. But in the beginning, it was more so like, oh, I get to be psychotic. So let me be psychotic, and that's not my normal state. Or, oh, I could be a NFL athlete. I'm not an NFL athlete, but I can play that. So let me be that. And I can experience different people and different lives. So it was like, and I can love that because, the struggle with my own self. And then I was able to be everything. Because I was like, acting, you can do everything. Piano player, you can be a singer, you can be a rapper, you can be whatever it is that you want to be in this fantasy world that you're making real.
Right.
That's kind of channeled me to act. And basketball had a lot to do with it because I wanted to like play overseas with basketball. And then playing in college, certain things didn't work out the way I felt like they should have. And right before my last year of basketball, I was kind of like, you know what? I think acting is calling my name. I found myself trying to make myself cry in the mirror to see if I could do it. And I was just like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I think this is now the time. Like I'm having more fun. And like, not that I don't have more fun playing basketball because I miss it and love it, but I'm putting more effort into the arts and crafts, like the art of acting and the craft of acting. So I'm like, let me just go ahead and start doing that.
So what college did you go to throughout that 4-year journey?
I went to a few. So I went to originally I went to Gloucester County College and got my associate's degree. So I was playing basketball there. I was supposed to go to William Patterson, but it was some stuff that happened financially, and I was like, you know what? Me and my sister was both going to college at the same time, and I was kind of like, I'll go the cheaper route, and it'll be easier, lighter on the family, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Gloucester County, and then after that, I went to Caldwell University. That was where I played basketball at Caldwell in Gloucester County. And then when I was done playing basketball, I finished up at Rowan University.
Mm.
So I was everywhere.
Hey, look, but I guess it builds your journey. I know somebody that went to different schools, like from high school to college, and like I'm talking about, like all 4 years for 8 years straight. So
That's a lot.
trust and believe. I'm far to judge about anything, but that's definitely. Um, I feel like with acting, a lot of people kind of fall into it. Like it's there, you don't know it's there, and you fall into it, and then you end up loving it. So
That,
I think that's the really cool part of acting. But what was like your first role? What was that first, whether it be a play or film that ignited your career into acting?
when I was, hey, that's interesting. Cause I could say way back, I played like the Jack in the Box for like for a Christmas play, and I was the comedic relief, and I was on stage the entire time, but I stayed inside of a box. So nobody knew that there was somebody in the Jack in the Box. So when it was time for me to like pop out of the box, it was hilarious because that was like a moment nobody expected. So from that point, my family was kind of like, yo, you're a performer. When I was 21 and I stopped playing basketball, I was in this play, low budget play, but we did the best that we could, put it together, and made it happen. I think we ended up getting like 500-600 people to come out,
That's
and it was
that's,
called
that's really good for a low budget play.
low budget play. When I tell you, we the script was good, the message was good. We had no stage direction, so we all walking around the stage, like, you know what I'm saying, putting on a show. So it was called Don't Count Me Out, and I played this character called Skip. And when that happened, I did it with my bro Tyrone, which y'all know. When after that, everything started like making sense and started falling in line. From there, it was like movies that was on, like a couple movies that came on Amazon, to like how do I create my own, how do I write my own, going back to school to get my master's, and doing everything like that. It started like everything just started falling in place, and God just started blessing me through it. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I was about to ask you. You went off to get your master's,
Right,
which
right.
is like when you just said you just did all of this, took the low budget route, did all these type of things just to and I want to say just to continue and get your master's. It's really an accomplishment, like a really big accomplishment, because once people think like, oh, I got my bachelor's, that's it, I'm good, I'm great. To actually reach and jump for your master's, that means you really have to be dedicated. This is something that you strongly desire and want to learn more. I know me, I'm trying to get my master's in theater and film. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, what school did you decide to attend? How was that journey for you? And
Mm.
what did you take away from it?
Oh man, that's like, first off, thank you. Thank you, because it's an accomplishment, and it's interesting because I normally downplay it. I never really.
We all gonna downplay our accomplishments. We all do it.
Right. It's crazy because I never really. I mean, I understand masters may be a big deal, but I always looked at it as like the piece of paper never really defined me. I
Mm.
went back because I really wanted a knowledge that, I mean, you can get by yourself on the internet or online and searching and researching, but I felt like the challenge of like me in school, I was an average student and I didn't really apply myself like that. It was like if I needed to get an A to have a B in the class, then I would study to get an A. If not, I would just, you know what I mean? I never really applied myself. So going back to school, of course it played a lot because I wanted to learn acting, but I wanted to see if I could get all A's. Like I
I
was like,
no, I feel you.
I was like, is this something that I can, you kind of froze. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good on my end.
So like I'm sitting there on the camera, like, but yeah, I wanted to see if I was capable of doing it. So like going back, I was like, yo, can I get a 4.0? because I'd never really tried.
Mm,
And the first 2 semesters, I got a 4.0, and I was like, oh, I'm good. I can do this. And then I started worrying about career and started getting some things in order. I graduated with a 3.7. So I was like, I had to prove to myself that I was capable of getting high score grades in school if I tried.
mm-hmm.
So that was big for me. Also, I was doing a lot of low budget independents, and some of them weren't coming out. Some of them I was on set and I was like, this doesn't feel right. Something ain't it. Like, what are we doing that's wrong? And I'm all for the hustle. Like, I'm all for the grind, figure it out. But I'm like, yo, for me, I value myself more when it comes to my craft. I want better. I want eliteness. Like, and there's so many actors that I was just watching that I think are super dope actors, but nobody was receiving the quality that they deserved on camera.
Mm,
Because when it comes to telling stories, it's not just about having a close-up and you performing. Like, the cinematography tells a story. So I'm like, me as an actor, I want the cinematography to tell the story so it can bring the best out of me as well. I know as a whole that this needs to hit on all cylinders, and I'm not learning how to do it. Let me go back to school and figure out
mm,
what it is that I'm not missing, so I can tell my homies, or I can tell my friends, I can tell whoever next in line, like, yo, this is what you deserve as an actor. Like, all the time that you're putting in reading scripts and studying acting, like, if I learn the whole craft of acting, I can be the best at it that I can possibly be. And that's why I really went back to school. Because I was like, I need to learn lighting, at least the basics. I need to learn how to shoot, at least the basics. I need to learn the acting, at least the basics. Improv, I need to learn all of it that goes into it. So whatever I put out as a whole is solid. And
mm,
it's not, if it lacks, it doesn't lack in a way that it's not supposed to lack. It just lacks because it's like, oh, he's growing. Like,
mm,
it's not going to lack because it's like, yo, he ain't put no effort into it. So
mm.
that I went back to school for that. What else did you say about, like, the journey in school? I did an 18.
Basically answered it. Basically saying what you took from it, your reason for going, and what did you take from going, and you basically summed it up, like, it was a learning pool for you, and as an actor, trying to venture into different areas of the film production, which is very important for those who are filmmakers, actors, producers. I say this all the time. I said this in 3 previous episodes. It is very important to be well rounded. So when you not only have knowledge about what you have to do, but have knowledge about what somebody else has to do, you're more of a value to that set, because you don't, as an actor, you know that person's looking for angles. You know that person needs you to get this in 2 takes. You know that person needs you to stay in this frame because lighting. You know the costly effects of messing up, and it causes you to work harder in your craft so that when you show up, you know your stuff, and vice versa. You know how the actor is going to react, or how the actor needs to channel this and that, so you're able to prepare yourself and to be a valuable asset to set that people will want to book again. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
to be well rounded like that is it really helps build you as a person, as an actor, as somebody in the film industry. So to think that, as an actor, I want to go back and learn about the other things. I want to spend a couple more years and a couple more dollars
And a couple
learning
more
about the
dollars,
other things.
dollars, the dollars. That's so real though, because and you meet different people. And for me, I wasn't booking at home.
Mm,
When I was home, uh people, like, on this, when I was on the East Coast, when I say home, for people who don't know home, when I was home, people, I didn't see a whole bunch of auditions, and people weren't reaching out to me for roles. It wasn't like, yo, I need you to play a role, because one, I had such a young look and such a young face, and everybody was creating love movies and stuff like that. And it was like, you want that more mature. Nobody was creating that teenage love or something like that. And that 20,
yeah, what happens when you look 12?
you feel me? So I was like, well, I need to create my own, or I need to get out and get around people who are creating this. And I wanted to be around people who what's the, I can't even think of the analogy, but it's like, if I guess I wanted to swim with sharks, I guess. So it's like when everybody said like the top of the acting world is in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I want to go to LA because I want to be around who is the best, and I want to see why, and I want to be able to adapt because I want to be like, and that's my competitive side because I had to learn that it's being the best you that you can possibly be. I had to learn that, but at the time frame, I was like, I want to be the best. Like I'm trying to be like when Denzel, like I'm trying to be at that level where people are like, yo, you like, yo, I want to compare you and Denzel when you get older. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, he was one of the most phenomenal actors out here, and I'm just like, but I had to learn that it was about being the best version of myself. That was definitely a process. So, but that's part of the reason why I went back to school for it, because I was like, I want to be elite in this. I want to learn all aspects of it. I want to be able to have a conversation with a cinematographer and be able to talk to them at their level. So now we build a relationship because I care about what it is that they're doing. So now that I care about what you're doing,
and you can relate to them. So because it's one thing, like when an actor talks to a director, it's just like, oh, you're a director, what do you do? It's like, no, I know that you got to do this, that, and the third. How does that feel? What you create an open forum to develop this great network that they remember you. The one thing about being in the industry, for people that are listening or watching, is that you have to be rememberable. You have to be able, somebody has to pick you out of the crowd if they saw you again. You have to leave an imprint on somebody's life, that to the point where it could be something so minute as knowing something that other people didn't know. And they'll be like, hey, you was that kid from before. You know about direct, let's talk. And just like that, it's a gateway in.
I got my my first writing gig that I got when somebody else asked me to write a project for them. That it happened through that because I was on set with the director, and that cinematographer reached out to the director and was like, yo, I'm looking for a project. And they were like, well, reach out to Randolph because I know that he's been writing stuff. And me and the director that I worked with, we were just cool, and we were talking about a lot of things. We were talking about ideas. So I ended up becoming a reference. But I think that it's very important to be able to look outside of yourself in life, so you can kind of indulge yourself in somebody else's interests. And that's how you learn, and that's how you become a sponge. So it was like, what is it about directing that you like? And being able to learn what some things about directing, the basics, opened up conversation. And now you have a personal relationship, because that's all it's about, relationships. It's like this, you got to really have relationships with people to work. Like, you don't have to work with them, but it's the best when you have personal relationships with them, because it's organic. They get to know you. They're writing characters based off of who you are. And they're like, yo, I can see you playing this role because I got to know you. And I think that's so important in the world.
Relationship builds a team, though. A relationship builds a team. That you see, the Waynes has their family, but they also have people. I know Marlon Wayans brings on Essence Atkins. You have like people from A Living Color. They, or Adam Sandler has his group of people that anytime he does a Happy Gilmore film, they are his go-to because they're trustworthy. They have the information, the knowledge, and the talent. Well, information is also the same, but the talent. And so I guess that's what you develop doing the things that you do.
Trust, yeah, absolutely. You can trust your team. You gotta trust your team. You know what I mean? So it's like you develop that intimate relationship with your teammates, and you're like, boom. Of course, it's not everybody like that, but when you have a team, that's very important. And I think that it's solid to learn about the people that you're working with. Like, I think that's just because that helps you bring out the best in you, and you help them bring out the best in them, and it's all love,
But then you're able to work back around because you have a couple projects of your own. You're known. If y'all don't know, y'all need to go on his Instagram because this man is hilarious. And he is known to do like so many dope skits. But he recently posted a short called Shorty.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, since you are a writer and a actor, and like, what are all your roles in that? Because I feel like you are an editor. I feel like you really immersed yourself in that. Tell us more about that process?
Well, first and foremost, I wouldn't have been able to do it without my brother Shabyron Shockley and my boy Brad Watts and like the Red Pin team. That team, you know, for me, they're very special to me. You know what I mean? They're family. So I wouldn't have been able to accomplish any of it without them.
Mm,
Shorty was my thesis in college.
mm,
So I had to write a thesis, and I wanted to focus on insecurities because I feel like for me, and I'm still battling with it. Like I'm confident in who I am, but I still have insecurities that I have to fight through. And I felt like insecurities have been the number one thing that held me back, or that I don't want to say held me back because I go after it, but has made me hesitant at things.
right. You're
Insecure.
kind of like fighting fear in a sense, or fighting that the what is the self-doubts. It makes the process a little bit more difficult, but you're still going to do it because you're a go-getter.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I've had conversation with a lot of friends. You know, I'm a big advocate for the underdog. You know what I mean? I'm just like I want to root on the underdog because I feel like I've always been the underdog. So it's like, yo, how are you going to overcome? And I've had a lot of friends who called me, was like, yo, I'm struggling with women. I don't know how to talk to her. Like, I don't know what to say. I don't know. And like for me, I had the same struggle. Like me being short. Like, I mean, I don't look at myself as that short now. I think like I kind of had a
You're
decent
pretty decent height.
I can be average. I'm not too short now, but growing up, like I was think I was like 4'11" going in at like 8th grade. Like I was dumb short. Like and and like girls used to be like, I would date you if you was a little bit taller. And I'd be like, what? Yo, and it would be the worst.
School is
So
vicious.
what happened?
School is vicious.
Vicious, but they would love me because I'm funny or I'm cute. And I'm like, first of all, I'm a sex symbol. Don't look at me as cute. I'm sexy. Like, you know what I'm saying? But nah, so like creating Shorty, I wanted to attack the fact that how silly we look when we allow our insecurities to influence our decisions negatively. So you know, like growing up, it was like, well, how can I get taller? And then you looking up yoga and looking up stretches and stuff like that because they're saying that helps you, you know what I mean, your limbs and loosen up. You might be able to get a little bit taller. So I wanted to expose that with like the friends walking in the room while I'm stretching with my butt up in the air, doing the downward dog stretch and stuff like that. So I wanted to like expose that because it's like, yo, right now you're operating in your securities because you think that a girl only likes tall guys. And during the time I was writing it, social media was like, so big on I date tall dudes. You got to be 6 foot in order. You remember when all that was going on? Like
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
do.
that's funny, and I was like, let me play off that because what about the short dudes? Like, so we just not supposed to date nobody, huh? Because we ain't 6 foot. We ain't supposed to find love. So me writing that with like a major help from Shabyron and Brad because I had a lot of structure issues that I was working with, and they really helped me structure it. And I was so caught in writing sketches and skits that they helped me turn it into a film to make it feel like it wasn't just a sketch. It was a short film, like a movie. It had more substance. So they helped me develop that. And that's why I was saying the importance of your team and the importance of trusting the people in your team is very big. So when I was creating that, I wanted to just expose like, yo, you look crazy when you operate in your insecurities. And this girl, you worried about being short, so you're doing all these things to fix yourself. That when you got to her, she dating a short dude, and you're like, I waited for months to ask you out because I'm trying to stretch and I'm scared to ask you because I think you only like short guys, and I'm taking pictures, I'm building chemistry, and when I finally asked you out, it's like, it's too late because the guy that I'm with is short. I never worried about your height. And I had those issues where I was like, don't worry about my height. Or if I had like financial issues, I'm like, I'm afraid, like in my relationships, I'll be like, I feel insecure because I couldn't financially provide the way I wanted to financially provide. When I realized that talking to the women that I dated, they were like, I never really cared if you had all the money or not. I was just happy that you was there.
But
And you,
I feel like that's the overall theme of the thing. It's like you spend so much time doubting,
yeah,
fearing,
yeah.
being opening that level of insecurity about something, and you miss. Not saying in this instance it's the girl, but in real life it's the blessing.
It's a blessing.
It's the
Absolutely.
blessing, and now you have to wait. for God to return that
Yeah.
blessing to you.
Oh my
And
gosh.
if you're not ready again, that's a whole nother. It's just like when you allow fear, you allow insecurities, and you allow all of these things to warp you up and make you think that you're less than, you miss out on things that you've been praying to God for 5, 6, 7 years. You're like, God, why you ain't doing it? Like, I did it 2, 3 times. You wasn't ready. So
It's
I guess that film can like get it in itself has its own underlying lining theme with a splash of funny, you
mhm.
know.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like what I took off of, just like, wow, he did all this and he was short. It's crazy how I can take from my personal life and say, like, with acting, I'll be like, I don't want to post my video because what if somebody say something, and then you be like, okay, well, let me just post this or let me just do this, and then people go, oh yeah, I want to book you for something. You trying to tell me if I ain't put myself out there ahead of time, that how many blessings have I missed being stuck in fear and insecurity? And I feel like that's what, it's crazy how you can produce or create something totally funny, and it can have this underlining thing that just, really makes you think. And I believe that's what creative content is for, to really make you think. And you produce content like that. Like, even outside of Shorty, you have a lot of different like skits that have you, Trey versus Randolph, that have you facing yourself.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like a reality. It's like you're facing yourself. So even in the middle of all that funny, you produce some really, really underlining, hard hitting content that will, I feel like, will really like soar when that time is right. When that particular skit get picked up, like, you have that ability. And I feel like you wouldn't, like, going to school and doing all those things have helped grouped you into this well mature and well-rounded person, where you can produce content that has layers, content that has onion layers, um are amazing. So I just got kudos to you. Sorry.
You gave me
Got kudos
chills.
to you.
You gassing me up. I appreciate
Look, man, it's the creative's corner. Like, we gotta support each other.
that. You already know. You never think about that when you're creating, because like when with me creating, it's really there are the things that I struggle with. You know what I mean? And I still struggle with it. Like,
And you have so much content, so nobody would never know looking at your Instagram.
I legitimately still struggle with all of that. Even like with insecurities, once you feel like you get over it, you have to go back and remind yourself to get over it, because you may have a new insecurity that you never. And the bigger that you get, and I mean bigger as in like in who you are as a person, you start learning more about yourself. You start seeing more insecurity. You're like, I never even had this insecurity in my life. Like, I had a recent insecurity that affected me, that I was just like, I never even thought of this in my life. Why is this so? And I operated in it instead of looking back to something I created like Shorty and being like, focus up. And that happens so much. And that's funny, like you touched on Randolph versus Trey. That's exactly why I created Randolph versus Trey, because Randolph is a more mature version of who I am, where Trey is more of a younger version of where I was. So like the struggles that I face, Trey is kind of like, this is where I gotta face it like this, and Randolph is more so like, but there's another perspective that you don't understand, that you can grow with your, like, that you grow over time. And I'm facing that battle of Trey, immature, who I would move, where I would may numb the issues, where I might say I don't care, or I may do something that helps me get over a situation that I wouldn't. Where Randolph is more so like, I'm a little more grounded, and I'm like, that's not okay, but I still want to, but that's not okay. I know better. So like it's interesting.
Well, your creative content, for anybody, listening, we are going on a tangent, but it's really important to realize that, like, when you allow yourself to fight fear and to walk in your purpose, and then even express your stories, because a lot of his content is coming from his personal experience. That personal experience is fuel to the creative, and it's fuel to people who are watching, and it's inspiration and it's motivation. And those are the things that we aspire to impact others with. And sometimes it is sharing our stories in a mix of sharing, some form of fiction or some form of a character. As a writer, you 9 times out of 10, excuse me, put your personal perspective or your personal experience inside of a script. So if you watching a film, you be like, that's a little close to home. I'm not even going to lie, that hit there. So it's very, very important. And like, have you been creative during this entire pandemic?
Yeah, I've been creative. I think I've started creating some of the best work that I've ever created in my life, if I'm honest. And I think that's because God has placed me in a place of self-reflection, which I think is very universal right now.
I was about to say, I was going to ask you, what have you taken away from this overall pandemic?
Yeah, it's been a place of, because it's back to the roots. Like for me, it's like what got you here? What made you start? Who are you as a person? What layers have you not peeled off yet? Like life is about, like, I feel like life is about unbecoming all the things that you have become. So it's like over time you have so many shells and so many layers that you put on yourself because of traumas or experiences, and you get to a place of, how do I peel all of that back? I can be super vulnerable and I can experience love the way it's supposed to be. I don't want to say supposed, but experience love at its truest form. And that comes in your craft, for people, relationships, like whatever it is that you're doing, experiencing that in its truest form. So like when you talk about creating content, I've reached out to people who I started off with, like my family that I started off with creating content, and sharing personal experience has developed some of the best content that I've ever talked about or had a perspective on, or starting to produce or writing, because I'm able to get I'm able to tap into a level of me that I've never tapped in before. And I think that's very important as an artist and as a person. You want to just tap into levels that you've never tapped into before. So when you do create, you're able to put out something that is so true to you, regardless of how the public responds to it. It's so true and authentic and organic that it's like, dang. And when you put it out, I think you touched on it when you were like, I was afraid to put out some of my monologues. And then when I put it out, people were like, I want to book you. And it's like, that's so important, because you never know who's watching. Like I think the best messages that I've ever received, like I've booked from putting out content, but the best messages that I've ever received was somebody saying like, yo, I was going through something today and this made me laugh. And I was able to like get through it, or I was going through something and this inspired me to continue to create. And like that one message is better than 1,000 likes that you may receive on it. You know what I mean? That one message.
You impacted somebody's life, not even knowing it, but you impacted somebody's life to the point where it caused them to want to, follow their dreams.
That's a blessing. Like, that's a blessing. Like I pray for moments like that, because you realize that you're being used as a vessel. And like God is using you as a vessel to impact somebody else's life. Because I know when I watched your work, I'm like, yo, that's fire. Like when you put out your poetry and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I want to make a poem like that like, you know what I'm saying, that touched me, or that changed my perspective and my outlook. Like I know you changed my perspective a lot when you put out a lot of poetry about you as a Black woman. I was able to just sit and listen and be like, oh my goodness, I'm glad I'm able to gain this perspective so I can operate differently in my life as a person. You know what I mean? And what can I take from it that can make me a better man? So like I can appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't really hold back, because you don't know who's watching. That one person might have been ready to give up, and because you said what you said, they pushed forward. And I think that's the reason why I do everything that I do, because other than if I take myself out, that's the reason why I do it, because it's just that one person might be like, yo, you changed my life. And that's all like I inspire to do, is to be a motivation or inspiration or be a vessel of Christ. Like that's what it is.
That one person is probably looking out here like, yeah, man, that's me. That's me. I'm watching right now. That you're speaking to me. That's crazy. I was gonna quit today. That's crazy.
So, I was actually
wow. just about to say I'm done, and then I just clicked on to see what was going on, and now here I am. I know it's plenty of times I'd be like, that's it, and Jesus splash a little message. You be like, you know what, God, you right. So I do hope that this interview could be an inspiration. That's really what it's all about, to, just be open, be comfortable, create a safe haven, and inspire and make people feel like they're wanted, make people feel like their dreams matter, make people feel like they're supported, make people feel like that they're not alone. So that's the overall objective, and I feel like somebody's going to pull from your story and really just go for it. And I appreciate you being open and being honest and just being totally transparent, and just, I always mess up that word. The Philly in me, I want to say, just being totally open, and just spewing what your life is like, and giving knowledge to those who don't know, and as well as, kind of inspiring me. Your story is dope. I've been knowing you for some years, so I really and truly appreciate you for coming on and sharing with other people. It is truly you're dope.
I'm just happy that you hit me up. Like, you hit me up like I want to interview, and I'm like, oh, somebody want to interview me? That's crazy.
Me right now during this pandemic as I eat some chips? Crazy. Wow. Okay.
Right. I'm ready to take a nap. Like, if I was going to go to sleep, shoot. But that fact that you hit me up and asked me, I think that's an honor. You know what I'm saying? And I'm honored that to be on your show. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that's so cool. And I think it's cool what you're doing. You're putting people's stories out here. You created a whole template for me that I never even had. And now I got a template that I'm definitely using. And I'm just like, that's love. It's a blessing in itself. So, I mean, you're an inspiration yourself. You know what I mean? You're a blessing.
Thank you. I just like to support people. If y'all don't know me by now, I love art. I love creatives in every aspect, in every genre. And if I could create a platform where I could share their work, their talent, their message, their voice, I wouldn't do it no other way. So thank you so much. But we can't close without your game. Every guest has to finish with a game, because we can go so deep in the topic, man. We just be like, whoo, no.
Kept talking.
We are here to enjoy ourselves, as well as just go on a full rant about life and success and everything. Because if it wasn't for the pandemic, I promise you, me and my bro would have just been sitting there having this conversation, probably been 3 hours by, a couple Wawa trips, and so I'm
when it's over.
Hello. So I do want to end this game. I want to end this interview off with a game. We have a guest pick between 3 to 4 games. I like to switch them up every time, but this one is entitled "Rate Me." Rate, for those who rate me. Okay. So the overall objective is that you have to rate a film from 1 to 10 and give a short reason why. You only have about 10 to 20 seconds to explain your reason why. And your rate, you can't think on it. Be like, you know what? I think maybe a 6. No. All right, at 8.5. No. Off of your first thought of the film, you gotta rate it and say why. Ready?
Ready.
Don't trip up.
All right, I might.
All right. First film, Malcolm X.
10.
Why?
Because one, straight off of acting, I think Denzel did a phenomenal job, especially when he was in prison, and he was like, he had those moments where he was just breaking down. I think that was phenomenal. I think the lesson in it, just creating a awareness of who Malcolm X was and the type of man he was, because I know growing up in school, how much time I got? Growing up in school, we only talked about how militant he was, but we never talked about why. So it was always like Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther King we loved and Malcolm X people didn't like. But I was just like being able to experience who Malcolm X was, and like seeing Denzel tap into that character, I was just like, oh, I'm learning so much.
You made sure you put that in that 20 seconds. Y'all gonna get this mouthful. All right. Let's see if his black card is getting revoked.
Oh, they're about to take it.
He said he can watch a lot of films lately.
Oh,
so I threw some 2019 films, 2020 films up in here, but hopefully you've seen it. Lena Waithe's Queen and Slim.
Oh my gosh, I give that a 8. Give that an 8.
Why?
Um, I thought it was a phenomenal movie just talking about black love. You know what I mean? It was just like they were just riding for each other. Didn't even like each other at first, but just like they were just riding for each other, and it took you on so many emotional roller coasters. Only reason why I took 2 points off was because I think I just wanted a little bit more. I was maybe it's a selfish thing because I was just really like I was upset with certain stuff that happened, and I kind of I predicted the ending, which I like when I in the middle of me watching it, I was like, oh, this is about to. I feel like this is about to happen, and it happened, and I was just like, dang. But I feel like it was supposed to be like that as well. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I feel like you were supposed to know what was going. You knew what was going to happen before it ended.
All right, all right, all right. Martin's I always mess up his last name. He's amazing. Martin Scorsese. Scorsese.
Mhm. You good?
Martin Scorsese. Wolf of Wall Street.
Up on Wall Street. 9.
All
Wall Street.
right, you see me like
What you about to say?
I was
Nine.
about to say get that film a low rating. I dare you.
Margot Robbie played the girl, right? And Leonardo DiCaprio, his scene being drunk, getting out of the car. Oh my god! I thought that was one of the best acting scenes I've ever seen, and it was no words like besides like like I was like, are you serious? It was so believable, and it was long, but you were able to be involved the whole time. I think it was so much energy that was put into it. The performance was phenomenal. It made me want to be a part of it. So that's what I wanted. That's what I enjoyed about it.
No, I agree with you that any film that can go so long and you're still in tune, it's like, oh, this is good. But speaking of a film that went crazy long and we were still in tune, Avengers Endgame.
That was a 9 for me as well, or 10. Oh my gosh, because I'm an action. I like those action movies, and I felt like they did a good job trying to play off of the Book of Revelations. So,
Mm.
so I was like, oh my goodness, you have
You in a
Thanos.
church, you see some things like, oh, is that a message?
That's the message. You feel me? So I'm looking at it like, yo, Thanos they're creating him to be like this godlike creature, but he was so built on pride, and it was like I don't want to be like satanic because that's not what it was, but you're relating the end of the world in the Book of Revelations to what they're doing in End Games, and plus the action was so dope. Like I love that. I love action movies and fighting movies. Like End Games is a movie I can put on and do anything. I can clean up, I can eat, I can
Yeah.
go to, I can watch. I'm like that's just a movie I can always go back to. So it has to be a 9 or a 10. Like it doesn't matter.
Hey. Well, thank you so much for playing Rate That
Uh,
Game.
I'm glad my
We
black
do
card.
appreciate. Yeah, he didn't get a revoke. Oh, I had some ones in there that would have tripped him up, but I saved him. It's all right. We're not going to revoke your black card on this show. Maybe another. But please tell them where they can find you on social media before we close out.
On Instagram. Wow. Instagram at Randolph Summiel, RANDOLPHSUMMIEL. I know it's a lot, but that's my full name. You find me on that on Instagram. You can watch all of my content. YouTube, Randolph Summiel. I just started a YouTube channel over this break.
Hey.
So I'm about to post all of the short films that people don't really see. I'm gonna post those on my Instagram. I mean on my YouTube. So you can find me there. Facebook Randolph. Twitter is Trey_Sums TRAE_SUMS. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming by or tuning in or zooming in. I'm so corny. Until next time, we do appreciate you, Trey, for coming in. This is your girl, Janelle, and you are tuned into the Creators Corner. Peace out, y'all.